I don't want to make this a habit of having to respond to this lady's endless slop, but I feel like I had to respond to this because it's fucking pissing me off. It really is, considering this woman is cosplaying as a leftist and she isn't. And basically trying to, and I know, even if she isn't aware of it or not, she is basically doing COINTELPRO's work for them by advocating for us to do the exact opposite of what we should be doing. Resistance by any means necessary. And the very fact is, armed resistance isn't even on the table. Like, yeah, I think people like her are suspicious. And if she isn't like a CIA op, which I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that she isn't, then why the hell is acknowledging the fact, and this is a reality that we have to deal with, that we have to resist by any means. History has proven that when you resist fascism, you don't defeat it through the ballot box. You don't do it through holding signs. You do it with violence, with the threat of violence. How the hell do you think we got the 8-hour workday? Do you think we got it by holding up signs, demanding? No. It was the threat of violence and long years of struggle. Violent and non-violent. A combination of both of them. But considering we're at a time where we're far past the point where non-violent resistance is a viable option. What are you going to do when Trump starts rolling out the tanks? What are you going to do when the troops start shooting at people? What are you going to do? Non-violence is only a viable tactic if your enemy has a conscience. We're dealing with psychopaths. We're dealing with people that want to bathe in our blood, that have been preparing for this for decades. And your answer is just to resort to a few tactics and not the one that is inevitable. Violent resistance is going to happen whether you like it or not. And expecting us to be at the mercy of the state because, I'm sorry, I can't risk my privilege. I don't want to stop recording my endless slop that I do every day. Yeah, this lady wants to say that leftists are terminally online, while she's the thing that she says she is. Every accusation is a confession. Okay, if she's fighting the good fight, then why the fuck is she recording like 3 or 4 videos a day when most leftists that have an issue with her can't even record 1 video because they're too poor to, because they don't have a phone like I'm using to record a video, or they're so busy just trying to make ends meet that they don't have the time, or they're like Black Red Guard. They're actually doing real work and they don't got time to deal with this woman's nonsense. Most of these leftists she criticizes, they're such a small fraction of the community that it's just laughable. Like, history has proven her wrong. Like, what defeated the Nazis? Waving signs or demanding they stopped killing them? Or was it the Soviet Union? Fucking kicking down on the fucking fascist doorstep and smashing them. Because it's always the gun that's gonna fight against fascists. It ain't gonna be fucking peace. Like, they look at your peaceful protest as a joke. Because fascists know that it's not gonna accomplish anything. Do you think they're gonna be emotionally moved? Do you think they're gonna change their minds? Like, you know what? I don't think we should do that. No. Boycotting is a valuable option, which we should take advantage of. I would 100% agree with that. But we shouldn't just stop with like that. We should utilize peaceful protest when it's appropriate, when it works, but not being ready for the inevitable, not being ready for the inevitable like backlash, the inevitable crackdown on protest. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna protect the most vulnerable in our communities when we don't have the means to do so? You could build networks to help people when things go to shit for food and water, but how are you gonna fucking protect any of that without firearms? If you don't have the means to back it up? How? The fucking fascists could just go take everything that you're building without a fight. It's hard for me not to believe that this woman is not a CIA plant. Because why the hell would she advocate for anything but the most important thing? Firearms. That's what we need. That's what we should be talking about. Obviously, we should be advertising it on the internet. That's just dumb. But the very fact is, it's a reality that we have to accept. You may hate the reality that we have to pick up firearms. You may not even want to because you don't want to get your hands dirty, but it's inevitable. We could fight like hell and push the fascists back, or we could just all die and fucking be buried in one big mass grave. We could die standing tall or die a coward in chains. Liberals would rather die like a coward because they don't want to do the most difficult part, and is to actually resist. What she advocates for, it isn't just her, it's many liberals. It's not a legitimate protest. Like, I don't even hear her talking about joining a new party or building a new party or even advertising alternatives to the Democrats. All I see here is pushing the same failed strategies that have been proven to be failures. Show me one instance where nonviolent resistance has actually succeeded long term. I'm waiting. I'm not saying like this because I want a violent revolution. I'm advocating for any form of resistance because it's what we have to do. It's for our own survival. And middle class liberals do not actually care about the proletariat. How is nonviolent resistance going to protect trans people? How is nonviolent resistance going to protect the elderly, the disabled? How? How is a form of resistance that isn't backed with force to deter the fascists from doing what they want to do, how is that going to help? Fucking disabled people don't fucking have the time for this nonsense. Neither do the elderly. Neither do trans people. Neither do gay and lesbians. Neither do our non-binary comrades and whatever people that I cannot list because I'm not familiar. So if I do anything to offend those communities, I'm sorry. It's not my intention. But you get what I'm saying. There's a lot at stake here. And the very fact is, resistance by any means necessary isn't even a discussion amongst liberals. Just proves to me just how toothless liberals are. Because Democrats, one by one, are selling out. All of them are. None of them are actually resisting Trump's fascist ideas. They're supporting Trump. They're aiding Trump. And the few ones that are actually resisting, what's happening with them? Like, those who are involved in direct action against Tesla, they're what I would argue actual resistance. Not holding signs, not making speeches that they'll ignore anyway. There's more of us than there are of them. And it's not going to do us any good if we don't even have the means to put fear into them. Mind you, it was fear that caused them to pass the 8-hour minimum wage, which caused them to give us the thing that our great-grandparents fought and died for. It wasn't holding up signs. No. Protests were a lot more violent a century ago. But liberals, because they've been privileged for generations, they scoff at the idea of nonviolent resistance because you know what it really is? It's classism. They think the very idea of nonviolent resistance, they hate the idea because they don't want to get their hands dirty. That's what it's all about. It's not because, it's going to cause death and destruction for marginalized people. Marginalized people are already being fucking rounded up already without any form of resistance. It's quite pathetic. It really is. Just how desperate liberals are to justify their ability to do fucking nothing. Oh yes, let's make some videos every day. Let's punch down at those that do not have the means of fighting back. But let's call a minority of the left who just fantasize about violence. No. Most of us just recognize the reality. I dare you to say that to a Black Panther. I dare you to say that to a black man who understands fascism better than you do, who understands what it means to fight fascism. White liberals don't understand fascism. I hope I don't have to even respond to this lady again, but it probably won't be the last time. We need to stop holding back on these liberals. We need to take off our gloves. Liberals to me are as dangerous as fascists because they're discouraging those who may not be as experienced or as knowledgeable about politics to go with the path of least resistance. No. If you truly are for resistance, you would be resisting by any means necessary. That includes getting your hands dirty. If you're not willing to get your hands dirty, then your protest is as toothless as your resistance.